Welcome back to the Chad X podcast. It's me, Chad, and we have our guest speaker, Ferris, here today. Say hi to the people, Ferris.
Hey guys, it's Ferris.
And today we're going to be discussing some of the events that have recently occurred regarding uh, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, arresting several students at Columbia University, and Columbia University issuing a statement saying that they were going to revoke the degrees of several of their students, or former students as well. This is really something that's shocking. It's shocked a lot of people. It's some people I've been seeing are using this as proof that democracy in America has completely eroded and we're sliding towards fascism. I I'm not sure we're quite there yet, but I definitely think there are clear signs here that things are changing here in the United States. Uh, and probably not for the better, especially if you're an immigrant or somebody with opinions that are outside the norm, which we at this podcast are. We're, explicitly advocating for the advancement of young people. That is our primary goal, is to make sure that economic and political opportunities are more available. They're afforded to young people more, and that old people will get out the way and let young people take over and move this country in a positive direction. So we're people who are espousing a minority view that a lot of people would view as extreme. So when issues like this arise, in which mega powerful, ultra powerful institutions like Columbia University, which is an Ivy League institution, come forward and they start using extremely harsh measures, collaboration with one of the most hostile law enforcement agencies in the country, one of the most heavily criticized, and they're using these law enforcement institutions and just their general institutional power as sort of a sledgehammer to beat on people who have opinions that are outside what they consider to be the mainstream or the norm or the acceptable limits of a public opinion or of individual private opinions. We're gonna have to speak on it, and that's about where we are right now. Your thoughts, Ferris?
Um, Similar to what you're saying, it's best way to kind of explain it. It's a shit show. It's a lot of legal issues. It's unconstitutional more so. Um, and what Colombia is doing is not only harmful for its reputation, but also specifically, it's just really bad. You don't. We know that they've had like issues in the past. As being from all the Ivy League schools, that's one of the top ones that's always had issues. But this one has shown full blown how they truly feel, especially about students. I seen them saying that like they can just kind of like revoke their some people's degrees. I'm like, excuse me. So if you're gonna do that and make that degree worthless, or might as well pay all that money back to the students that you're doing that to, because you can't have it both ways. It's
Yeah,
just a really, really weird situation, man.
definitely is. And to provide some background to our listeners who maybe aren't caught up to date with everything going on, this all started when a protester for the Palestinian movement. There's been a lot of protests in Colombia about first of all trying to get a ceasefire in the conflict occurring between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas in Gaza and the IDF. That has since come to pass, though there have been some complaints on both sides of violations, and a lot of recordings sent forth of Israel doing certain things. There was an announcement that Israel said they would no longer allow humanitarian aid into Gaza, which is one of the terms of the ceasefire. So it appears as if that's been violated. But Mahmoud Khalil, who is a green card holder who was a student at Columbia University, was arrested by ICE a few days ago.
Mhm.
This is strange because a lot of people were saying, well, what law did he violate? What was the issue? Because his green card was valid. He's married to a U.S. citizen. All his immigration stuff is in order. He's not a U.S. citizen, but all of his stuff is in order for him to be able to stay here as an immigrant. And then a statement was released by Marco Rubio, an official under Trump, part of his cabinet, stating that people who criticize Israel and who support Hamas, more importantly, I guess, would be the supporting of Hamas, which is a designated terror organization, will be deported. That will violate their residency agreement, and they will be deported, and they're going to begin working as working as a nation. The Homeland Security, all those people who are involved in these operations, are going to begin working to arrest and deport those people with the help of ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. So that sort of sparked a chain reaction across the internet, the world, the legal world, everybody sort of trying to jump in and analyze what's going on. Most people that I've seen who have law degrees, who are lawyers, who work in the field, say that they think this is probably going to be one of, if not the most important civil rights case of this decade. This idea of an immigrant having their immigration status stripped or changed or demolished by the government over their publicly espoused opinions. And I, for one, I think I agree with that. I think this is, I mean, it's so hard to say that this is probably like the most important moment of the month because we've had a crazy month. We've had the Ukraine stuff going on. The first 2 months of the Donald Trump's presidency have just been back to back to back events. Things just constantly happening. But I think this one right here is of particular importance to people who otherwise aren't interested in foreign policy and things that are going on internationally with America and our influence, because this is foreign policy coming home to roost. This is America's defense and support of Israel as its ally coming home to roost and saying, even if you are somebody who resides in America and believes yourself to be under the protection of the Bill of Rights, of the First Amendment, of the idea of freedom of speech that we have so deeply ingrained in our society and laws, you still may be in danger of this new type of establishment that's forming, which is less libertarian aligned than previous administrations may have been. Your thoughts, Ferris?
It's 1000% what you said. Um, I just think this country is going through a really bad uh situation, specifically the path that's taken regarding to like deportation of students. Um, because it's kind of hypocritical too, because they're like you're claiming that you want to get like the best and brightest talent from overseas, but you're planning to also deport them because you want to defend a foreign nation. One thing that the Trump administration like to claim that they are is they're quote unquote America first.
Right.
That is not America first to me. You
Yeah.
know, you got to get away from Israel to be able to be fully America first. The way like the Marco Rubio says the criticism of Israel and all that, it can get you. No, that doesn't make sense. How that does not make sense at all to me. I'm like, we have the right to be able to criticize China, Russia, the UK, any country in the world, our own government too. But you're telling me that I can't criticize one specific country that because you quote unquote say that's America's best ally, which is not the truth. It's just odd to me, man. Like it's going more authoritarian. It's fascism is back in the rise. It's just crazy. It's gonna be brutal. Next, our future's looking very brutal in the states.
Yeah, it reminded me and a lot of people on the internet of a previous incident at Columbia University back in the 1930s, in which there was a student who was expelled for leading a protest against a group of speakers that were invited by the Columbia faculty to give a presentation. They were a group of German speakers from the, at the time, ascendant National Socialist Party. They had not, taken over Germany completely, but they were a very powerful political force in Germany. And the fact that there was a student there, I believe it was a Jewish student as well, who led a protest, student protest, to try to ban those speakers from giving their presentation was something that the officials at Columbia University did not like. The student was expelled, and it's particularly interesting. I noticed a lot of people were saying Columbia University never issued an apology or anything to this individual. So, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of parallels there, and I know a lot of people are probably tired of hearing about the Nazi Germany and Israel parallels in terms of how certain things are going. But it is interesting that the tools of repression are being used by some of the same institutions in the same ways. This one, if anything, is even going farther. Just the collaboration with the U.S. government in getting this man who had broken no laws other than espousing support for a political party and a foreign government.
Yeah,
Which, in general, I mean, Elon Musk did the same thing when he donated funds to and used his public figure, pseudo public figure status to, what's the word I'm looking for? to endorse the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland party in Germany, which is sort of the most right wing party available in Germany right now. So it's just overall interesting that private citizens and Elon Musk himself is an immigrant. You know what I mean? I think he's officially achieved citizenship, but the idea that someone could be arrested and potentially deported over their opinions on foreign policy in the U.S., especially someone whose spouse is an American citizen. I think that's something, some members of our audience, some members of the general public who have close relations either, immediately, or they have a family member who has a spouse that's a foreign national that's in the process of immigrating. Just knowing that, being honest about you and using your freedom of speech rights can get you arrested and deported. I mean, that is a scary reality.
Yeah,
Luckily,
it's unconstitutional, man.
it seems to be. It sounds to be. It sounds like it should be to me, but we'll see how it actually ends up being interpreted. A
Yeah.
lot of civil rights organizations have gotten their legal teams on this, and we are going to see a lot of challenges to this. But I mean, it's still got to be disruptive to that guy's life. I mean, they shipped him
Yeah.
from New York to Louisiana. His wife's pregnant, 8 months pregnant. Like it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel bad for specifically the wife, because I'm like, man, dude, you imagine you're 8 month pregnant and you see your husband, they're trying to threaten deport it, and then you and your husband is all in the news being labeled a terrorist and all that. It's just, for me, I'm pretty confident they're gonna get him out and he's gonna be getting his citizenship. I'm confident in that. But when they do that, I would sue the hell out of him being unconstitutional. I'm being so serious. They should sue the government for doing that. Sue them as much as you can, because that's ridiculous what happened, man. It's very unconstitutional in my eyes. It's going to be interpreted that. I'm very confident in that. Um, exactly. People like to say, "Oh, the founding fathers." If the founding fathers saw that, if they seen a little bit of what's going on today, they would have made hell and probably did another revolution, because it'd be like a lot of freedoms of ours have been quote unquote taken. I really do believe, especially right now, because that right. That freedom of speech is what it's First Amendment right, right?
the very first. It's the first thing they said. Yeah.
It's the first thing they said. So I'm like, if they see this, what's going on now, they would be angry and they'll be upset, because they know that's the first thing that they said. It's to be protected. It's the first one for a reason, you know.
Yeah, dude's getting arrested for a country that it didn't even exist when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution.
That's
Like the
exactly,
right is older than the country that he's arguing against. Like
exactly.
it's really insane.
It is insane.
I mean, we'll see what happens. Though I am interested in following just the legal challenges that arise as a result of this. A lot of people have been saying for a couple of years now that Donald Trump has been the most court packing president we've had since FDR, not just in terms of the Supreme Court. A lot of people think about that, about the Supreme Court justices that he's put in place during both of his, during his one prior term mostly. I also have been keeping track of some of the stuff he's been doing during his first term and in the first 2 months, and so as a president he gets to nominate federal judges as well, and he's done. I don't know how to describe it, a real job, I guess. He's had people advising him on who to nominate, and he has probably shifted the overall the average value, conservative or liberal, of all the judges in the country rightward by a few percentage points just with the elections he's done. I mean, every president, when they do their nominations during their terms, obviously is probably gonna have a political bias towards people that agree with their interpretation of the law a little bit more. But Donald Trump, I mean, he seems to have done a great job of getting far right judges in position in terms of federal courts. So, depending on which court system this goes through, let's be clear, it's going to go through a federal court. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of which circuit he ends up on. We may see results on this that really challenge our ideas of what civil liberties are in this country and who they extend to. And I think this is really something people should watch out for. There's been a lot of people, crying out, even presidential candidates crying out that this is the start of fascism. If Donald Trump gets back into office, it's over. Him and his boys are not playing around this time. We'll see with this case, because it's looking like, we've seen it. Over the past 2 months, they've really used executive orders as a bludgeon, trying to just force through this new trend, this new ideology, this new system of governance in America. I think this is going to be the first test where he has to go up against an organized resistance, like a true level of organized resistance. Because even in Congress, he recently got the one of the most minimal, most conservative budgets passed in, decades, because the Democratic senators did not want to go through a government shutdown. So they passed a budget that a lot of left wing people were extremely unhappy with. So in Congress, he's not facing a lot of resistance. In the executive branch, he is the executive branch. He's not facing any resistance there. Clearly, they cleaned out the FBI. Doge is in charge of a lot of stuff now. I think the courts is going to be his first real challenge, and this is probably going to be his first legal challenge that he really has to. That we as a people, really, I guess, are going to get to see how much are things actually going to change. Are we going to be able to hold things up in court and stop him from doing everything, or is it just going to be Donald Trump and his cronies, Marco Rubio, Elon Musk? They set the tone, and we just have to adapt. Your final thoughts, Ferris? What do you think? Any predictions for the future you have?
Um, I would say, like I said, I feel like we're heading towards that path of being more authoritarian slash because he has played a lot of weird things that he would like to joke around about regarding to like for example he's hinted of a third term, which I'm not taking that serious. If he does do try to do that, then if that's when like I think Americans need to be alarmed for sure, and kind of like that's when we gotta fight back, because that's when like America's basically gone. If you don't fight for it, you can't let a guy become do that. It's unconstitutional now. Um, and then I don't know. I just feel like the way that the U.S. is going towards, we're heading to a more fascist state. Um, it's not looking very good, man. It's not looking very good.
It's definitely looking dangerous for outside thinkers like us, but we'll
Hmm.
see how it all ends up. This is something we will keep you guys updated on until the very end. And hey, if Donald Trump and his boomer cronies decide to come down for us next, hopefully you'll donate to our GoFundMe for our legal defense fund. But that's a joke. Sorry, guys. I know it's serious, but we're trying not to
Gotta
get
line the
depressed
mood up a
about it.
bit,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
you gotta be lining the mood up a bit.
if you can't
Listen,
laugh,
you can't always think negative. You
yeah,
can't
if you
always
can't
think negative.
if you can't laugh through the pain, it's just gonna you're just gonna suffer more. But that's going to be it for us for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. And please let us know in the comments, do you think we are sliding towards an era of Donald Trump as the king of America, able to make whatever orders he wants to how the country goes? Or do you think that the judges and the legal system and the defense lawyers and the civil liberties lawyers are going to fight against him and find some success and prove that some of what's going on is unconstitutional and against American law and values? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, please like and subscribe. I've been Chad. This has been Ferris. Hope you guys have a wonderful night.